She truly believed that we were angels. She threw her arms up and said a prayer, but it was the most meaningful prayer I've ever heard in my life. Got him some new tennis shoes, and hey, Nike, you should help us out because it's a big thing. And we get to be a part of the opportunity to witness this, part of changing people's lives and bringing them together as a family.
Welcome to the Hope and Motion podcast, a space where we talk about impact, purpose, and the journey of building something bigger than ourselves. I'm Max, a videographer, a storyteller, and part of the team of Hope to Walk, a nonprofit bringing life changing prosthetic legs to people who could never afford them. Most of these conversations will be with my mentor and the founder of Hope to Walk, Phil Johnson, a man whose vision and heart have inspired me in ways I can't wait to share with you. Together, we'll dive into the stories, the struggles, and the incredible moments of hope that come from serving others. Because we believe everyone has the power to make a difference, and maybe this podcast will help you find yours. Let's get started. I want to go through some stories because we meet so many people every day and it's a different story every time. So we're just gonna go through my phone and watch a couple of videos and just talk about it. So there's that little girl that I wanna have a video about, Rebecca.
Yeah.
So Rebecca was born like that without a leg. But this kind of stuff happens with kids. Most of the kids that we serve, they are usually like born like that. It's what's up with that?
Um, in rural parts of the world, you find birth defects, and we see a lot of birth defects in Central America. It could be caused by poverty, it could be environment, it could be many things. Um, but in this little girl's case, and most children in Central America or even around the world, the cost of prosthetics are so much that, let's say a child gets a leg when they're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, 7 years old, 9 years old, like this little girl. In 2, 3 years, she's going to need another one, and then 2 years, she's going to need another one. And, in the average leg in the U.S., especially the type of leg she would get, 10,000, 15,000, maybe $20,000. And the problem is they never think that the child's going to get a leg until they're older, due to the fact of them growing. And so that's the beauty too of Hope to Walk. We can build her a leg today and next week and next month and next year if need be, to accommodate her as she grows.
Yeah.
And so we were able to cast her and build a leg. She's has an issue where the bone continues to grow, and it's growing out the end of her stump, and that's due to this being a birth defect, and really have had no surgical intervention. But that we accommodated for that and made the leg. She stood up and walked very well. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Quite
that's
amazing.
amazing. No, it was beautiful to see, always like especially kids, the excitement, the not understanding what's really happening in the moment, and you can see that joy, which is pretty interesting. But there's with that bone growing that she has, what's the possible solution for that? Because they think that they just have to go every year, and the doctor told them that come back every year and we have to shave that bone. Is there a possible intervention or something that could stop that? Or
I would think possibly that they could go in and do a revision on the leg and cut the bone back in a way where it wouldn't be a yearly process. But, I don't know really what, all of her medical records and, issues that she's had in the past, but she definitely has bone growth. And
yeah,
we can, that's the other thing, we were able to accommodate that because we build the socket in the leg directly to the patient. And so we noticed that that bone was coming down, below the stump, and we were able to build a pad that would allow it to be off weighted and not sit directly on that bone.
yeah. So, like you mentioned also that, yeah, the the kid is gonna grow every year or every 2 years maximum. They would need a replacement of the prosthetic leg. Um, we thought about many ideas, and there's one of the ideas which is the sponsorship of a child. Um, what would that be? Because until they were 18, they probably stopped growing, and when they were 18, but the sponsorship would probably allow someone to follow the story. And how would that work?
So the prosthetic leg comes in the form of a kit, and that kit is $250 US dollars, and we then could build a leg for her. And in a sponsorship program, what someone would do is commit to potentially building a leg for her every 2 years, at the cost of $250, until she's old enough to, to get out on her own and be able to pay, for herself. So it would be a project where, as the child grows, the need for the leg, naturally, we're not just going to go build legs, but as the need arises, we would continue to build legs for that child, and that person would sponsor that child, would get, contact with the family. They could follow, the life of this child that they're literally changing their life.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, that would be super interesting. And we have like probably like five five kids we have served in the
Mm-hmm.
past year.
Mm-hmm.
If you are interested to sponsor a young amputee, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to guide you through the process. There was another kid we served, and actually two other ones. There was one that it was his birthday. Yeah. So this is the video.
Today is a kind of a special day. We have a young boy out here who today is his birthday. And we're going to provide him with a new pair of shoes and a leg to walk. So, what better of a birthday present could you ever want? So, here we go.
So actually, like serving him the day of his birthday and him receiving actually a leg and this incredible smile. And what was special, like you actually got him a cake too. So
Yeah, when, uh, I've probably said it a million times, you're born into the genetic lottery, and when you're a child born to a impoverished family in the highlands of Guatemala, birthdays are just another day. And here this young boy comes who'd never walked with a prosthetic, and we get to be a part of his special day and also provide him with a leg that changed his life. A lot of times kids become handicaps. In Central America, it's the culture is brutal on children, and kids that have no legs become handicapped, and they, have less of a purpose. And to give a child, especially on his birthday, we went out and got him some new tennis shoes, and hey, Nike, you should help us out because it's a big thing. But just the smile on his face, the smile on everyone's face, because all of the amputees hung around and got a piece of the cake, and that's one of the beauties too of what we do. People come in very leery that here's these Americans coming to give us a prosthetic leg that we can't afford, and they come in very reluctant, very weary, and then as they see the casting happening and all the scurrying around and then the pre-fitting and people standing up and walking, it becomes a room of a family, and everyone has something alike they've lost in their lives, and we have get to be a part of the opportunity to witness this and be a part of changing people's lives and bringing them together as a family. And so, like, this is one of the greatest things in the world.
100%. Wow, what a beautiful journey. There was that moment, and it's like these moments are full of emotions. There was that guy that came to the clinic, and it was someone that found him in the street just walking.
Mm-hmm.
And he stopped and he said that, hey, I heard about Hope to Walk. and he actually brought the guy all the way to us, which was 6 hours drive.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the small driver right here waiting. And there was this special moment when they were all crying, and especially that guy. Look at that. No sé. Remember this moment. Dan ganas de llorar. Estamos aquí para eso. Muchas gracias. Que Dios los bendiga. Que Dios los bendiga. Eso es lo que me impacta ahí de ahí. Estoy todo nervioso estoy. Wow. So even so, the amputee was telling us here like, God will bless you guys, and the driver came and hugged him and started crying, and there's Jose that was there. He's like, hey, don't worry, God will bless you too. You're part of the blessing. You allowed this guy to walk here today. And it was like such a beautiful moment, because it's a work and like a teamwork. It's
Yeah.
everyone is part of it. And lately everyone has been talking. It's a word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has been saying they came because they heard someone talk about it.
Yeah.
That's legacy.
Yeah. And to see something as simple as a guy picking up another person and driving him 6 hours and then seeing that person walk out, and like you said, everybody was crying. I've been doing this for 10 years, and every story and every life that's blessed by what we do brings tears to my eyes, because I can't believe that God chose me to do this
Yeah.
and gave me the ability and the wherewithal to continue to, walk down a path of being able to help people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an amazing journey. I wouldn't change my life for anything.
I'm very, very glad to be part of that. And actually, yesterday, I got this tattoo. And this is one of the most beautiful lessons that I've kept on learning from you. And why I say keep on learning, it's because it's a never ending process. It's something that you need to remind yourself this every day. And so the tattoo is saying, remember why you do what you do. And you have it on your neck saying, let us always remember why we do what we do. And it says it all. I think like it's truly something that I put it on my hand just to be able to see it every time I'm using my hands. This is the constant reminder.
Well, with all the things that we do, there's ups and downs. There's goods and bads. We've, traveled to bad places. We've been sick. We've experienced patients, not showing up. We've experienced, numerous things. And so it's the good and the bad, but all that we do, every bit of bad is worth the good. And so it's just, remembering why you do what you do in life, that's good. But remembering why that we struggle and we, sometimes have less, is sometimes a blessing. And remembering why you do what you do is, I've said it ever since Hope to Walk began. I've had a little saying that if we fail, we can go get jobs. We can, everyone that's associated with this organization can get a job and have a life. And, but I've always said that if we fail, the people that are going to suffer are the people we serve. And so those are the people that at this point don't have hope, that Hope to Walk is bringing to them, that potentially they'll get a leg and be able to walk, and just like you and I, and that's a blessing that you can't compare.
I was in the shower yesterday and thinking exactly about this sentence that you mentioned to me. And what's better than waking up every day knowing that you have the capacity to change someone's life. So me not acting towards that would be selfish. And it's interesting because like when it comes to your consciousness, you become conscious of something. Now it's a choice. You know, there's no behavior, whatever. Now it becomes a choice. You're conscious that wow, you're touching to a kind of mission that you're literally changing someone's life every day. You stopping this train now is pure selfishness for me, you know? And the feeling of gratitude that I have daily, just being able to be of service is worth every second.
Well, in the beginning of Hope to Walk, we the funds were low, and we had a meeting, and we were trying to decide if it was worth going on the trip to only fit 5 or 6 legs. And I remember thinking to myself, what's the cost of a human being walking? What is that worth? Is it worth one person or 10 people or 50 people or and I remember saying to the group, our board, um, what is the value of someone? Whether it's one person, 5 people, or 20 people, we're changing someone's life. And if we have the funds to change a life, I think we should change a life. And so naturally, the more funds that Hope to Walk gets, the more that we are able to put legs on people. And so my goal is to solve the problem, or at least try to build an organization that eventually someday there won't be a statistic that says that you can't get a prosthetic because you don't have money. And everyone would be treated the same and fairly, and everyone could walk. And so I feel like it's a calling, and I'm supposed to fulfill it, and I'm going to run with the ball until I can't stop.
With you on that, bro. And actually, the way that is the plan that we're gonna do that is solve the problem here in Guatemala
Mm-hmm.
as one country. Because, like you're saying, we're talking about it. Why go to the other side of the world where actually the cost of a leg would end up being $600-700 if we can do it right here for way cheaper. This way we can fit more people.
Right.
And like you can you share that idea of localizing and really making the impact completely in the country before moving on?
So we've over the past 10 years, we've tried a lot of models. We've gone into countries. We've literally built legs out of backpacks. Um, if you look at the scale of the need in the world, we can't do it that way. And so, what we've learned in 10 years is training people in one localized place and having enough patience to make an impact, and then sending those people back to their countries that they came from and supporting them with the leg kits and the ability to continue to build legs. And so our goal or our vision here in Guatemala is to set up a training center, a manufacturing center where the components that are built by Hope to Walk would be built here for Central America. And we would, train people, have people come train them. We're even looking at potentially having containers, shipping containers that are built into the form of a clinic, and where that person would come and work out of that same model of a clinic, and then when they went back to their country, they would go back with this shipping container that is a full-on prosthetic clinic. And the idea again is the more people we train, You know, if we have, let's say we have one person and they can build 10 legs a week, and that's 40 legs a month. If we had 10 of those people, you're now building 400 legs a month. And so the number of people that we can train and get support for around the world, Africa, Asia, Central America, South America, Mexico, wherever the need is the most, we can do it by training people and sending them back to their home countries to and supporting them and continue to build legs.
Yeah,
So that's kind of the idea.
yeah, that's amazing. In in Guatemala, there's like 70 to 80% of the people that we received lost their legs due to diabetes. That's a big thing here. And most of the people that come, they don't even know
Yeah.
what really diabetes is. You know, there's certain cases of people that we receive with very bad wounds, and they're just bending that thing. And
Right.
yeah, so let's talk about the diabetes a little bit.
Diabetes in the US is caught very early most of the time, and people have the means to get medication to control the diabetes, have funds enough to be able to support a better diet. And so, I mean, the need is all over the world. But when you look at Central America, let's just say it's an issue of diet. It's an issue of the lack of funds, poverty, the lack of health care. We saw a guy in the clinic yesterday who had been amputated, who the bottom of his other foot was completely black with a nasty, nasty wound. And I asked the patient through you, how long, when was the last time you saw a doctor? And their response was 3 years ago. And so, you, with diabetes, you get what's called peripheral neuropathy, which means you can't feel it. So if you can't feel it and you really see it, it's very easy to overlook it. And by the time it does rear its head, it's too late. And you end up going to a public hospital. And one of the things that we've found in Central America, which is terrible, it's easier to amputate above the knee. So these people that could save the lower part of their leg end up having an above knee amputation,
Yeah.
which makes it even harder to get a prosthetic leg. And so there's a lot of branches to this tree that hope to walk. I want to work on educating people on diabetes, working with the Lions organization to come up with pamphlets, training, whatever it may be, to support education in a way where we have people who are uneducated, they can't read and write, and so in turn we are unable to these people are unable to read the basic pamphlet.
Yeah.
So we want to put something in more of a cartoon type, very simple, if this happens, this is what happens.
Yeah.
And so if we do that, we can, save legs. And right now, I did some statistics recently that just really amazed me. 2 years ago in the United States, around the world, the World Health Organization does an estimation that there was an amputation every 5 minutes around the world. And in 2 years, that is now every 60 seconds. And they estimate in the next 2 years that it'll be every 30 seconds that there'll be an amputation in the world due to diabetes. And so if you look at those numbers, it would take us 100 years to fulfill the need. And again, the way that we can do that is by training more people to build more legs. If we had 100 people building 10 legs, you know,
Yeah.
those numbers start to make a difference.
Yeah. 100%.
So
And like you're saying also like about the diabetes, the prevention side of it is a huge part of it too,
huge.
as 70% of the people here due to
Yeah,
diabetes, next generation needs a big wake up call.
yeah,
So as you're like you also mentioned that Hope to Walk is about partnership, it's about collaboration with the right people willing to do the right things.
right.
So the door is open for anyone that is an expert about diabetes and that can help in ways that they can that they think they can do. Please reach out. We're gonna be here to hear you and see the best way that we can educate to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, Hope to Walk is a transparent nonprofit. We we have very little overhead. We try to put on all of our donations really go towards building legs and supporting training. And so, you know, we're always looking for people that are willing to be a part of the family, you know, but we're a good organization. That's my goal in the end is to have an organization that anyone can look at and say, wow, they do a great job. And so that's my goal.
Yeah. Beautiful. There was a beautiful experience we've done together. We went to Dominican Republic and built 20 legs in a week. There were some beautiful stories that came out from that trip. There was a guy that the first day that he got there, the next day he was already driving a
Driving
truck.
a truck, yeah.
You know, so
And the other
this
guy, the
is
construction guy, got his
yeah,
job back, and you know we
and
get
no time.
videos and phone calls from people that we have helped, and to think that not only changing their lives for the ability to walk, but they could get a job, they could support their family, they have less that they need from their family other than love and care, and so yeah, it was really neat because we work really well together and kind of think for each other as a good team. And we had a very efficient setup that we had set up in a room in a hospital, and it worked out really well. And we were able to build legs, keep the place clean, tell stories. It was, and that was also working with the Lions group. The
Yeah.
Lions organization in New York had funded a trip to the Dominican and supplied the legs for these people. And hopefully in October we'll go back and fit 50 legs.
Yeah.
And so it's just that was an amazing journey. Everything, we were in Cambodia, we were in Vietnam, the Dominican Republic, Guatemala, El Salvador. Um, you know it, and it's funny too. Every country you go to, they're the same people. They're just different, but they have families and they love and care and they hurt and they have stories, and it's the same everywhere we go, that they lost their leg and their life changed, and the difference that it makes when we put a leg on them and they walk away. And it's funny how the stories, you can be halfway around the world and the stories are the same as if you were sitting right here.
Yeah. And it never gets old.
It never gets old.
Yeah.
It's the,
Yeah.
I probably, since the beginning of Hope to Walk, we've fit 3,000 legs, over 3,000 legs, and every single one is as good as the next. Some you really remember more than others. I had a time where a woman was in her 80s and she was very scared and timid sitting in her chair in a wheelchair when she came to the clinic. And when I got her leg ready to fit, she was telling me a story that when she lost her leg, that she prayed and asked God to take her life, that she didn't want to live unwhole. And that God told her in a dream that an angel would come and build a leg for her. And so she truly believed that we were angels and that God had sent us. And she was adamant in saying that, that she knew we were. And I remember going home that night and thinking to myself, wow, like someone genuinely thinks that myself and our group are angels from God, helping her and changed her life. And she walked over to the door with a walker for the first time after she had lost her leg, and she threw her arms up and said a prayer in Spanish. I don't know what she was saying, but it was the most meaningful prayer I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
And she was thanking God. And like, wow, I can't even begin to feel how blessed that I and we are to be able to do this.
What a blessing.
Super cool.
What a blessing. Wow.
Yep.
And that's it for
And
today.
that's it.
That's it for today. Thank you for listening, and thank you for, if you got all the way there. Well,
Following what we do.
yeah, please. This is why we're doing it too, to be able to inspire other people to serve others, and the best way that they can. It doesn't have to be with prosthetic legs, but
Can be anything.
yeah,
Smile at someone.
yeah,
Shake someone's hand. You know, you never know what people are going through, and something very simple can change someone's life or even a day.
yeah.
So it's a
If you haven't seen the movie Pay It Forward, well, put it on your bucket list right now.
yeah, no doubt.
Put it on the next movie list that you're gonna watch. It's worth it.
And when you're done watching the movie, go do it.
Thank you.
Peace.
See you soon.